Hi, my name is Catherine Page, and this is Sarah, Jamie, Michelle, and Meredith. And we did our final project about an interactive visit with an elementary school in Cary, North Carolina. This project's main goal was to spread awareness of female scientists and their roles in the scientific community. We wanted to make sure future leaders of America understood that anybody can become a scientist and how important they are in everyday life. The benefit of going to elementary school is to open their eyes at an early age. This presentation is about our experience with the children there and analyzing the results of the findings.
This is a shot from the front of Oak Grove Elementary School. We arrived to the school on a Wednesday morning before the students were going to music class. We checked in at the main office where we all had to take pictures and get a photo ID name tag, which was a new experience for most of us. As we approached the class, we went over our outline once more before presenting to Ms. Grabowski's 4th grade class. The plan was to introduce ourselves to the class and ask the students what they knew about scientists. Then Sarah would ask them to draw a picture of a scientist and give it a name. After they completed the first assignment, we would let them share. Those who shared would be awarded candy. Next, Jamie would teach them about the variety of occupations that science has to offer, as well as explain that scientists are not to be stereotyped and that they are normal individuals who can be male or female. After this explanation, we would ask them to take a few minutes to think about what we said. Then they will redraw and possibly rename their scientist. Michelle and Catherine will question the kids about their drawings and if any of them wanted to be a scientist and why. We entered the school with this outline in hand, but bearing in mind it might not go as expected. We anticipated that maybe the students would be more educated on the topic of scientists than we expected due to the banner hanging in the hallway. It represented 2 female kids experimenting with chemicals and science. We were optimistic as we entered the classroom and were welcomed by eager 4th graders.
After arriving to the classroom, we quickly set up a projector at the front of the room. We did this so that we could show the class our PowerPoint presentation that we had prepared. Then we introduced ourselves and tried to make the students comfortable by talking to them about NC State and teaching them the Wolfpack hand sign. Next, we provided the students with a blank sheet of paper and asked them to draw a picture of a scientist. Then we told them to give the scientist a name and write that at the top of their picture. We did not explain the assignment any further. We wanted to see what they would come up with on their own from their imagination. As they were working on their drawings, we walked around the room to look at their progress. Almost all of the scientists being drawn were older white males with crazy hair and were all given male names.
After they finished their drawings, we asked them to share their drawings with the class so that everyone could see what the other classmates had drawn. If a student was brave enough to share with the class, we rewarded them with a piece of candy. After they shared their drawings, we explained to them that not all scientists look this way, and not all scientists are male. Only one student drew a female scientist, and it was a picture of her mother, who was a dermatologist. We then asked the children to think about any female scientists that they know. They were unable to name any, so we went on to talk about a few of the more famous ones in our society, including Jane Goodall. We also went on to explain that not all scientists stay indoors all day and wear white lab coats. We showed them pictures of female scientists baking cookies and another picture of a female scientist standing next to a full-size cutout of Justin Bieber. This shows the kids that scientists are just like everyone else. They like the same things as we do and love having fun.
Then we showed them a picture of a hallway that had been painted by female scientists in a pediatric ward of a hospital. This is used to teach small children about science and get them interested in scientific topics. A lot of the pictures on the wall were about cell biology. These pictures are drawn based off of the cells the scientists see under the microscopes in their labs. After we showed the students pictures of a couple female scientists looking under the microscope in a lab, we asked the students if they had ever looked under a microscope before. A few students raised their hands. When asked what they saw under the microscope, they replied hair or blood. We then prompted the kids to think about different ways science is used every day. Some children brought forth suggestions such as brushing your teeth and running water, but overall they couldn't come up with many uses. We then provided other examples such as electricity, transportation, communication, tools, and entertainment. After we provided these examples, we asked the kids to raise their hands if they had a cell phone. Overall, the majority of the class had cell phones, which we found surprising.
After we discussed the different uses of science and technology, we prompted the students to consider what we had discussed throughout our presentation. We then asked them to flip over their original drawing and consider drawing a different scientist. We asked them to redraw and rename their scientist, giving the new information. As they began drawing, we circled the classroom, observing their changes. Some students took it seriously and altered their pictures to represent a regular person. Some removed the white lab coat and crazy hair, which resembled Einstein, and instead drew individuals resembling Jane Goodall and even one of our own presenters, Michelle. Overall, we observed most of the students were responsive to our presentation based on their final pictures. We saw that they were able to understand that not all scientists fit the stereotypical mold that is represented in the media. After our visit, we discussed our various impressions and reflected on our visit to Oak Grove Elementary.